Did the Russian collusion hoax cause the war in Ukraine? That's what we're going to be looking at in today's video. We're going to explore the intriguing work of some very brave journalists who've been exploring the relationship between Russiagate and the Ukrainian War, and we're going to see for ourselves what they've uncovered. It's going to shock you. You are not going to want to miss this. Greetings, everyone. Dr. Steve here with you. Great to be with you as always. I am your daily fake news antidote, so come on into your Patriot Professor's Den. We're happy to think better so you can feel better in these crazy and turbulent times. So make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. Before we begin, gang, make sure to click down below on the link and support this channel by visiting our awesome merch store. It has all kinds of t-shirts and swag for you and the Patriots in your life. We often get asked the question how you can support this channel and the reports that we give you on a daily basis, twice a day, that is. Well, the best way is simply to click on that link below and buy some of our awesome merch. The most common feedback that we get is how often random people just going to come up to you and tell you how awesome your t-shirts are when you wear them in public. It's excellent. So purchases will, of course, be spreading Patriot Hope as well as supporting this channel. So make sure to click on this link below or go to store.turleytalks.com. That is store.turleytalks.com. I got my Let's Not Feed the Rhinos shirt on, and boy, is that for sure. All right, I've been very impressed with the amount of investigative journalism that's happening outside of the legacy media that's connecting the dots for us between the vile Russian collusion fraud that wasted tens of millions of dollars in a completely fruitless federal investigation and what's happening right now with the war in Ukraine. Again, I want to applaud these journalists because they have not allowed far-left ideology to redefine their indispensable role as accountability holders for those in power. Of course, the legacy media is now the propaganda wing of the power class, the permanent political class. They echo, they reiterate, they confirm whatever talking points they get from the neoliberals and neocons who have deeply embedded themselves into positions of power in D.C., a power that the media class shares in and benefits from to the extent that they amplify its absurd claims as truth. Not all journalists have fallen victim to this, and we are the beneficiaries of their excellent work. I want to highlight a piece in particular by journalist Caitlin Johnstone on her Substack entitled Revisiting Russiagate in Light of the Ukraine War. It's an excellent piece because it really does a very good job connecting the dots of what's going on here. And her basic argument is that when all is said and done, what's happening in Ukraine is exactly what the powers that be in D.C. wanted. They wanted this conflict, and we're going to find out why. Let's go back to 2015. The New York Times published an article detailing how the Obama administration at the time was refusing to arm Ukrainian troops in their ongoing and escalating battle with Russian-backed separatists in the eastern Donbass region, which we now know to be the Donetsk and Lugansk People's Republics. It's widely recognized that the call to arm Ukrainian troops was indeed a call to enter into a proxy war with Russia. Russia was arming the Donbass separatists, and we would be arming the Ukrainian army, trying to take the Donbass region back by force. And in effect, this would be a puppet war, a war between a U.S.-backed puppet and a Russian-backed puppet. To his credit, Obama, who, by the way, helped instigate the 2014 Maidan coup that plunged Ukraine into civil war. We've done videos on the role that Obama officials like Victoria Nuland, right, the very one who told us about those biolabs that don't apparently exist in Ukraine. Yeah, like her. We've done videos on the role they all played in instigating the coup. But regardless, Obama did not want to escalate the conflict any further and refused to arm the Ukrainian troops. But the same cannot be said of Trump. President Trump did in fact authorize the arming of Ukrainian troops in accordance with the wishes of the strong contingency of neolibs and neocons in D.C. The question that more and more journalists are independently pursuing here is this: to what extent did the Russian collusion hoax pressure President Trump to make that decision? Now, he obviously, all throughout his 2016 campaign, he called for a renaissance of relationship between Russia and the United States. He made it very clear that he wanted to get along with Russia because he recognized that we were entering into a post-globalist world, and a post-globalist world is a multipolar world, a world with several centers of geopolitical power, no longer just one, being the United States. And so Trump recognized that we're going to have to get along with Russia, as well as knock China down a few notches on the economic ladder. So it didn't make any sense for Trump to provoke Russia by arming the Ukrainians. So what journalists are increasingly discovering is that the Russian collusion hoax appears to have played a major role in getting Trump to do precisely that. Now, what's so easy to overlook here is that just when story after story and scoop after scoop surrounding the flimsy and brittle Russian collusion narrative began to give way, collapsing into dust, ironically, the levels of hostility between Moscow and Washington escalated significantly. And so what Caitlin Johnstone and others have been arguing is that when all is said and done, the intelligence community, which had been orchestrating the Russian collusion hoax from the very beginning, right? They worked closely with the Clinton campaign. We even now know, thanks to the Durham investigation, that the Clinton campaign paid a technology company to infiltrate servers belonging to Trump Tower and later to the White House. We know that the dossier that supposedly linked Trump to Putin was compiled by the British MI6 agent Christopher Steele. The intelligence community has been at the very heart of the Russian collusion, and what journalists are now realizing is that they always knew, the intelligence community always knew that Trump would not get kicked out of office with a Russian collusion hoax. They knew that. They knew Republicans in the Senate were not going to convict him and remove him from office. Instead, Russiagate was all about putting pressure on Trump to get him to play along with the real goals that the intelligence community and the deep state that they had for Russia, which of course we now know as regime change. That was not a gaffe in Biden's Warsaw speech when he said that Putin could not remain in power. That was the climax of the logic of the speech itself. The intelligence community has had as their goal all along, at least since the days of Obama, their goal has been to remove Putin from power precisely because he's seen as such an existential threat to their own power. Putin is an existential threat to the power of the deep state and the permanent political class, and therefore must be removed by all means necessary. The Russian collusion hoax served to pressure Trump to ramp up his escalatory posture towards Moscow to counter the claims that he was a Putin puppet. This, according to these journalists, again, who are doing some very, very brave investigative journalism, this is what the war in Ukraine is really all about. It was about deliberately provoking Russia, of which arming the Ukrainian troops was a part. It was about deliberately provoking Russia in order to get Russia to invade, which Putin since 2007 said Russia would be willing to do to prevent Ukraine from joining NATO. And once Russia invaded, that would give the powers that be in D.C. and Brussels the excuse to launch economic Armageddon against Russia, blitzkrieg of sanctions that would devastate Russia's economy, ultimately bring down its government, and replace it, ironically, with a Yeltsin-like puppet. And here's how Johnston ends her piece. This was all planned years in advance, long before Biden's presidency and long before Trump's. It's not a coincidence that we spent years being bombarded with anti-Russian propaganda in the lead up to a massive confrontation with that same government. There's no connection between the discredited allegation that Trump was a secret Kremlin agent and Putin's decision to invade Ukraine, yet the mainstream anti-Russia hysteria manufactured by the former is flowing seamlessly into mainstream opposition of the latter. In the end, this isn't about Ukraine at all. All the blue and yellow banners splashed on billboards all across the nation or on Facebook profile pictures or Twitter feeds, they don't mean a hill of beans. In the end, Ukraine was just a sacrificial lamb to get rid of Vladimir Putin. However, none of it happened. Russia's economy is steady. The ruble's recovered. China and India are maintaining their steadfast support of Russia. Even the oil-rich Middle East has Moscow's back. And to add insult to injury, Putin's approval ratings, they've never been higher. The irony of ironies is that when all is said and done, it may be that Vladimir Putin was successful in getting rid of the globalist world order, and with it, getting rid of Biden, and perhaps even the deep state as well. Now, before you go, you will definitely want to check out my latest video. I just uploaded it on the increasing calls to remove Biden from office, all as his cognitive decline worsens. You're not going to want to miss it, so make sure to click on that link, and I will see you over there. God bless.